This is my workspace, mister. You've got to move. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Hey, come on. Oh, finally. I'm overjoyed when I can find a Vogue magazine, Cosmopolitan, Vanity Fair, Architectural Digest, and it's relatively new. I got very lucky with this one. It's the summer of 2023 Vogue with Margot Robbie on the cover. I already gleaned it for some pieces of inspiration. I love these backgrounds. We have a color background, a black and white background, and I already believe I know what I would like to do, where I want to start working. So I found my focal point. I love the way she is positioned. She's not a celebrity, and she's wonderful. So I think I want to make a very quick collage from her image. Now I have other ideas that I would like to explore using this image. If I do that, it would be not a great idea if I cut her out entirely, because I like doing the template. So I'm kind of struggling with that now. And also the way she is shaped, I would almost just like her silhouette of her body. Obviously she's dressed, so I kind of have to make do with what I have here. And it's one of those types of projects that if I do it this way, well, you know what? I think I'm going to do what I want to do, what I originally wanted to do, and it won't be a quick collage. It'll be something special with what I believe is my own unique voice to it. So this is going to be my focal point. I'm very happy to have found her. And I also have a wonderful book. Again, I purchased this at a library sale, so it didn't cost me much at all. It is vintage. I believe it's vintage. It looks vintage. It's a French tour book with amazing views, landscapes, and we can do incredible things with these landscapes. And in fact, I think I just found the one I believe I will work with. It allows us to combine nature, surrealism, and be as absurd as possible, which is what I really love going for in my work. And of course, those gondolas. Here we got great contrast. The snow and the red of the gondola, it really stands out, and it just makes for something very interesting and fun to look at. So I am very excited. What I need to do now is determine what kind of ephemera I want to use, because I have my focal point and I have my background, and now I have to get to work. Based on the background from this image and my focal point, which is this model right here, I want to take a red approach to this collage, mainly because red will provide a nice contrast to this background. So I was inspired by National Geographic and seeing this picture and the way red is represented with a dark background. It's a little scary reading the caption, what it is. I think it says they're tracer bullets. I'm not sure what that is, but that kind of scared me. But I love the imagery that it created, so I want to go with it. Grabbed another red image from the same National Geographic, dated back in 1994, so definitely vintage. And then very vintage, my trusty Life magazine, which you probably saw me pull out, with Jackie Kennedy on the cover, and she's garbed in red. I love this magazine. From 1961, so that's a really old magazine. So I'm going to use that, and I usually use that magazine when I want some red. For whatever reason, in that magazine, red was quite prevalent. I like this old icon for the American Oil Company. Not sure if I'll use it. Also from the National Geographic, images of people in an audience for an orchestra. It's also based on that same article on Turkey. So it has a nice red patina to it. I might use it. Again, took this from the same National Geographic, strong red imagery. And the only thing I really took aside from the American oil icon was this brick wall from an old Kellogg's ad from the Life magazine. I might use it. Then from the very same Vogue magazine, I grabbed this. No, I take that back. It wasn't from the Vogue magazine. It was from another magazine. It was an Out magazine. Out magazine. Here we go. So it has these hearts. So I think I want to use that. I think I have enough to get started, and I'm going to do my comfortable template technique here. Oops. These really sharp blades can cut well, and they'll even cut into the next pages and the adjoining page, and sometimes you don't want that, but we should be okay here. See, it's sliced on the side. The side of the blade cut this up, so not a big deal. It's okay. It didn't affect the other image. Again, I always look at my pieces. Is there anything on the back I want to use? That's some pretty good imagery, but I like this more. So this wins, and I will be cutting it up. I'm going to put Miss Robbie off to the side. I also had an old box of cut up ephemera that I kind of tossed into the box. No organization or sense to it. And I was sort of going through that because I was looking for the red imagery, but I didn't see anything that really sparked my fancy except these eyes. I think it's some sort of celebrity. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them. They almost look like wings. So I don't know if I want to give her a pair of wings that look like a pair of eyes. If I do that, obviously I'm cutting that. And so it'd be something, my thinking is going along the lines of this, is cutting along that heavy eyeliner to get something of wings. I don't know if it's going to stand out well against the background image that I've chosen. I will show you that again. It may or may not. We'll just hang on to it, and if not, again, it might show up in another collage another time. So we're going to get started. I'm going to start cutting her out, and I'm going to outline her because I want her silhouette. I don't want the dress. I just want the silhouette of her body. So I hope my old life drawing techniques are going to come into play here, and of course, basic human anatomy, and we'll see what I come up with. My time, sketched out where I want to make my cuts. It's a little difficult to see, but then I went along with a Sharpie pen. Well, not quite a Sharpie pen. It's a little micron pen, but it's the number 8 nib, so it's one of the larger pens that I use. And I'm just trying to decide, where I want to make my cuts. I'm already seeing here I want to continue the cut for the hair, do something kind of interesting with the hair with this collage. So I'm going to just identify where I want to make those cuts. I would like to keep her face and her ear intact. That's my plan. So I'm not going to do anything with the face, I think, yet. I'm going to use that same technique I've shared before, where I cut piece by piece and then tape the imagery on the back with some packing tape. And I'm just going to continue on from there. I have an idea what I'd like to do with this leg, but I'll show you that as we proceed. I'm relatively pleased with this cut. didn't cut all the way through like I wanted it to. That doesn't happen often anyway, and I managed to fix it. I stayed with the natural bend of the neck on the model and just cut the shadow. So that's where I'm cutting it out here. So it may look a little odd right now, but it should make sense and look like a person when we are done, since we are using a person as the model, as the template. I thought I was going to do a couple layers for the hair, and then I really liked the way the tracer bullet image looked, so I'm going to keep that. And I also want to work with light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. That just makes, to me, a more interesting image. Now, unfortunately, what I have going on here is a lot of dark with these reds. So I may need to dive back into my ephemera file and see what I can find. But whatever it is I have right now, I want to see if that'll work. So this other image, it's a little dark, kind of, well, it's not too bad. That ocean looks, actually I think it's a lake. That doesn't look too bad, but I'm not sure if I want to stay with it, and I'm wondering if I do use it, should I continue with the rest of the back and the neck? I'm not sure. I might, or I might dive back in, or I may use a different color instead of red. Maybe not use red for everything. Maybe yellow. I think it's too much of a contrast then. So continue thinking and continue cutting. Making decisions as I go along that are deviating from my original idea. I was going to originally remove this arm and replace it with other ephemera like I'm doing here for the torso and the hair. And now I'm realizing I think I really enjoy the contrast of the actual human arm with the other ephemera, which is a crowd of people. So I'm going to stay with this and not change the arm, but that means I need to glue this arm to the back of this ephemera. And it also, I run into a little bit of trouble here because the darkness of the marker that I used when I outlined, if I continue this way, I need to be cognizant of that as I'm doing my cutting. Now, I don't want any of this fabric, so that's got to go, and it's going to be a different type of ephemera here. However, I think wherever I see skin, I might just go ahead and keep that intact. So I'm going to continue, and I believe I may just use the imagery of the crowd and the red tracer bullet imagery. I'm feeling that more than mixing it up and putting other things in. Let's see what happens. Pausing here again to emphasize the importance of that negative space. I don't want to cut too much because I don't want to lose this negative space, so I can keep the body proportions correct. I'm running into a problem here though. Here's her arm, and the arm is covered by the material, which means I need to consider this small portion here and what I want to do with that. I don't have anything really flesh colored. She's going to lose that. I may just have to keep that part of the material there. So I'm continuing to cut here. Yeah, I ran into a little bit. It's just a little bit of a snag. What it means is that I have to cut carefully now. So I'm going to be cutting across where the thigh is down to the knee. And I just need to remember this little bit of arm is going to be here. Otherwise, it's going to look a little odd. I think I have an idea. I could even use this color. It's kind of light and kind of reminiscent of flesh, and it's going to be in shadow, so it should make sense. But I wanted to keep this, and I can keep it, but I just need to make sure I adhere it. Oh boy. So this is where you run into little technical difficulties sometimes with this technique. So I have to put glue on here to keep that. So I'm going to do that right now. Found a solution quite by accident again, which is the magic of collage. You run into some trouble, but somehow it resolves itself. I just continued with the crowd imagery where the arm is supposed to go here. So maintained the negative space, began cutting it out. I'm going to continue cutting it out right here so I can include this new piece. I hope I taped it right. Before I start cutting, I should double check. I think we're okay. If not, I'm gonna have to figure it out again. But we should be okay. Should be okay. Yeah, it's taped on the right side. Let's hope. So I'm just gonna continue the cut, and should be okay. We're just removing the negative space here. Like I said, I am keeping the arms and the legs from the image. This magazine, don't mean to demean Vogue magazine, but in terms of using it for collage for cut and paste, literally wet adhesive, it's not great. It's wrinkling kind of bad. It's not like the National Geographic, and I'm not being heavy-handed with the media. So just something to bear in mind. The images are great. The color is great. I put on some Mod Podge, and I'm noticing a touch of wrinkling that I'm not crazy about. On video, you all may not be able to see it as well. I see it, so it's kind of bugging me. Also, the edges aren't cutting very clean from this paper, so I think it's a quality issue in terms of using it for collage. But again, Vogue magazine isn't creating its magazine so I can cut it up and make new images and landscapes with it. So, it's nothing against the magazine, but I'm just noticing it as I'm working now. It's not the best. It's just not the best for what I'm doing right now, but it's working. I'm okay with it. I don't hate it, and I am going to keep using this magazine. And I'm being kind of rough right now too. I'm putting this paper through a lot, so it's not Vogue's fault by any means, but just some wrinkling that I'm just like, "Rrr," and then some edges that need to be cleaned, and I'm "Rrr," still. And I growl a lot anyway off camera. I just try to spare you all from it. But I'm just cleaning up some edges. It's getting there. We are actually nearly done. We're pretty much done. I'm pleased with the way everything is turning out. Obviously, I need to cut her out, put her on her new landscape, and see how that works out. I needed to do a little bit of cleanup and a little extra gluing, making sure that pieces don't fall away as I'm cutting them loose. Leaving this intact for now, and I'll show you why in just a moment because there's really no point with where my thinking is going. But this is a video about deviating from the original idea, so who knows? We'll get back to that in a second. But this little strip of hair, I needed to make sure it was glued down, it was flapping up. I had to make sure this was glued on because it was hanging by a thread. That's one thing I'm noticing with this technique. I tape things on the back and then they get cut loose when I free the image from the original paper. There's a lot of messier edges that I'm not crazy about, but it's like some here. It's not highly noticeable, but I'd really like to remove them. So I do a lot of cleaning up off camera as much as I can. Again, I was not happy about what I did with the Mod Podge here, but it's doing its job and it's keeping it intact because again, I'm going to scan it, and scanning usually makes things look a little bit better. But it's always about craftsmanship when you create a piece of art. You always got to remember to keep things clean, and as I go along I try to keep things clean because I really don't want to go back and do too much cleanup, and just not that kind of girl. So okay, and I'm very happy with putting this little bit of the crowd image here where the arm continued on, so thrilled with that. Now we're almost done technically, but I was thinking about this as my background. I didn't cut it out of the book yet because I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. I wanted to do something like this, and now I'm seeing that it might be a little too tall. It's not terrible. Nice contrast. I'm pleased with that. I was thinking about having the leg, maybe tuck the leg in here. So let me just go ahead and cut this background out really quick and show you what I'm thinking anyway. Here's the final challenge with this collage. I will say I am very happy with the way it looks. I'm excited about it and I can't wait to scan it. What I am going to do, or what I am challenged by now, is do I cut into the background and tuck the leg in, or do I just cut the leg off here behind the mountain? If I do the cut on the background of this book, it might look a little shoddy. You might see the white line. But that may not be a terrible thing. I'm just gonna cut. Obviously I started cutting, so let's just stay with this cut. We're gonna tuck it in. I don't think it's gonna be terrible. I just love the way that cloud cover looks. I need to get myself to the French Alps someday for sure. So let's see if we have enough room. Did I cut enough? The other thing is I'm gonna be harsh here, and let's just do this. Because why cut all of that, and there's just no point. I hope I don't regret that. We'll find out in a few seconds. So I'm going to tuck it in. Okay, yeah, you know what? Tucking it in works. That was good. Okay, so this is what I was doing. This is what I had in mind originally. And originally what I was going to do was just cut the model out of the magazine and put it on here and make it a really quick, simple thing. But why do things quick and simple on this channel? No, we want to challenge ourselves, right? Right? Sure. Anyway, I'm liking the way this looks. I'm pleased with the contrast. I like the absurdity of it, the surreal feel. Yeah. So I think we're done. I think it looks pretty good. It's a little messy. I apologize for my shoddy craftsmanship, but nonetheless, we have something kind of interesting going on. I'm going to go ahead and scan this into Photoshop, clean it up just a little bit, perk up the colors, and we'll move on to the next collage next week. Thanks for joining me.